the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. May you be blessed. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, honorable senators. And we last adjourned on Thursday. This is Wednesday. On Wednesday, the it was Thursday. On Thursday, yeah. We adjourned on Thursday, though. Yes. When we adjourned on Thursday, the 25th of June.
I'm President, I beg you to move the 24th of June. Be accepted.
Any corrections, additions, deletions? If none, it has been moved and seconded that the minutes of Wednesday, the 24th, and Thursday, the 25th of June be accepted as presented. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes for the 24th and the 25th of June are accepted. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign, swearing in of new senators, communications by the President, messages from the Governor General, messages from the House of Assembly, laying of documents by ministers, communications by ministers.
Yes, Madam President, I do have a communication. Mr. Clark, may I have the...
This is it?
No, may I have the table, the lectern. Are these supposed to be tabled? We'll have to go back on the agenda. No, not yet. Okay, thank you. Madam President, due to the fact that my office failed to deliver a resolution to extend the proclamation of emergency made by the Most Honorable the Governor General on the 17th of March 2020 in time for the same to be tabled in the House of Assembly before the end of its last session and the budget debate, the initial proclamation of emergency made by His Excellency the Governor General will end at 12 p.m. this evening. As Minister, I must accept and freely accept full ministerial responsibility for this oversight. The opposition this morning in the House of Assembly stood by a previously communicated refusal to waive the 24-hour rule, which requires at least 24 hours notice between tabling a motion of whatever nature and debate. As I said, the opposition is fully entitled to rely upon the rules, and I ascribe no comment or commentary towards them for it. Consequently, the Governor General, His Excellency Cornelius A. Smith, the Most Honorable, will now have to consider whether the COVID-19 emergency still exists and whether he, in view of his opinion that the emergency still exists, will issue a new proclamation. If, and once he does so, the competent authority will reissue all COVID orders and all special provisions, which will take immediate effect immediately after the proclamation, if made, comes into effect. The effect of this would mean that there will be no break in the curfew orders, no break in the mask wearing, sanitization, and social distancing orders, no break in the closures or limited opening orders. The regime that is in place in this phase of the reopening will remain in place with all of the disciplines. So immediately after 12 p.m. tonight, should the Governor General make the proclamation, the second proclamation, all the orders will then come into the new orders that will be signed after the Governor General has signed the proclamation, will all be gazetted after the proclamation and come into effect immediately. The rule of law is that a regulation, once gazetted, comes into force when gazetted, and that it must be tabled in the appropriate House of Parliament as soon as practical afterwards. So immediately 12:01, and like 1 second after 12, the new proclamation, if signed by the Governor General, His Excellency, and all of the other orders, if consequently signed by the competent authority, will immediately come into effect. The state of affairs today will continue until such time as the House of Assembly and the Senate can meet within 14 days after the proclamation of the order, pursuant to the provisions of Article 29 of the Constitution, in order to consider whether to extend the order, if made, beyond the initial period of 14 days. I reiterate that I take full responsibility as Minister and Attorney General. The government has every right and expectation to rely upon timely, in-time advice from the Office of the Attorney General. This is not the Prime Minister's oversight. This is not the government's oversight. It is my oversight. It is my office's oversight for which I take responsibility. In that note, I wish to sincerely apologize to His Excellency the Governor General, to the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and to the Bahamian people. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
Madam. Yes.
Chair recognizes Senator Mitchell.
I listened very carefully to the Attorney General, and in it, he indicated that the opposition, I assume, in the House of Assembly, did not agree to the...
Prior to that, they indicated that they were not going to agree to waive the rule.
Because I'm unaware that we formally communicated any position ourselves, and I've been briefed by the leader with this. All we knew was that the government came to us and said that they were no longer proceeding today, but would be proceeding tomorrow. So I'm unaware of that. So perhaps he can correct that for the record.
Yes. The record, please, sir. Thank you, sir. The record in the cabinet ministers' WhatsApp group was we received a communication from the leader of government business that the opposition wanted to have a full debate and was not intent. This was I think it was last week. Did not intend to, it was last week, waive the 24-hour rule. That was what we were communicated to us. Okay.
Senator Mitchell.
That's a different position from what our understanding is. What is our timeline is that we expected to debate this matter today. We came prepared to debate it today. My understanding is in the lower house, we came prepared to debate it. We received a notice, a voice note, which came from the government leader saying that the government had decided not to proceed today, but to proceed tomorrow. When I received that notice, I then spoke to the leader of government business in this place, the leader of the government in this place, who said that we would be deferring to the House and would be meeting tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. That's all I know for the record. I do not know of it. I'm unaware of any formal communication from our side that we were not agreeing to a debate today. It may have happened, but I am unaware of it. Secondly, it is not for me to say what the government's response ought to be for the Attorney General's apology for what has transpired. But in our system, there's another course of action which needs to follow.
Is that a course of action that you are prepared to discuss at this point, sir?
I leave it there. The Attorney General is quite learned about our system, and he knows what the effect of taking responsibility for a faux pas for his department is in our system. Now, someone else can say yes or no. We just went through this experience a few weeks ago, but it's not for me to say.
This would not have been the first person to whom I have conveyed a message that I take full responsibility. That would have been conveyed to the appropriate person already. So, thank you. If we can move on.
Okay.
I'm going to deal with that issue before we close.
I'm raising this.
Okay. Senator Mitchell.
I indicated to the Attorney General that I looked at the tapes when there was this exchange with us last week. And there was a point at which, in the heat of debate, one of our senators was referred to as young lady, which, as far as I'm concerned, was an inappropriate reference to that senator. At the time, it appeared that the matter had been withdrawn. When I looked at the tape, what was withdrawn was not that. What was withdrawn was the comment that she did not know anything about budgeting. So I said to the Attorney General before the meeting that I wondered if he would take the opportunity to clarify that, because I think the rules are quite clear that people are supposed to be referred to as honorable senators or senator, and particularly given the fact that we're speaking about a female, and in this present dispensation, there's a particular sensitivity about this and the equality of women, and I wish he would take the opportunity.
Can you clarify for me?
No, that's quite okay. That's quite okay. That's quite okay. Yeah, I'd already indicated to my friend. I thought that in the debate, I distinctly remember withdrawing the words, but apparently it wasn't caught in the tape because of the back and forward. So I unreservedly withdraw what was an unfortunate slip of the tongue, and to have referred to the distinguished and honourable senator as young lady, that is not acceptable, and certainly in the heat of debate, I deeply regretted it, and I thought that I had withdrawn it on the spot. I distinctly remember doing so, but to make it abundantly clear, I fully unreservedly withdraw that heated moment and those comments. I have nothing but the highest respect for the good senator. We have had occasion to work together on a number of matters in the capacity as Attorney General, in which she was appearing as counsel, and to work closely. The greatest respect for her as an individual and as a legal mind, and of course as a senator, where she hits the highest tones all the time with very sharp debates. So on that note, ma'am, I hope that the Senate itself would accept my apology on that issue.
Thank you. That was your communication. Okay.
And you'll adjourn, sign, die.
Communications by senators, questions?
Wait, can we go back to table? No, because these will fall away, and this can always be tabled later. Yes. Could we have the unanimous consent to withdraw the resolution tabled last week, the 25th of June? It's right here.
Right.
Thanks.
Senator Mitchell?
Yes, I would like, no fundamental objection, but what I would like is to have some idea from the Attorney General. I heard what he said in his statement as to what the legal what now happens next. For example, he did say that the houses and that the Houses of Parliament are supposed to convene within 14 days of a new proclamation. But I seem to remember that 5 days.
5 days is the period, not 14.
Okay, I just want to be. I just
No,
want
the
to be clear.
proclamation lasts for 14 days. That is
And
what
the
I was referring to.
The houses are
And
supposed to be
between
convened.
the date of the proclamation and the end of 14 days, the houses
Houses
are
are
summoned.
to be convened within
Yes.
5 days. That's what I thought the
That
position
is that is the position.
Right, and I wanted to.
I thought the 14 I was referring to was the extent of the proclamation, but it may have been misstated.
Right, and to be clear, again, the communication says that a second past midnight, if this order is not signed, then everything falls away. But he's indicating that it's done, I suppose, in the dark of night, that all of the things will come right back into play.
There's nothing about the dark of night. Once an order is made, we've been working on this now for the better part of the late morning and early afternoon. So the Governor General will have something to consider. And once the Governor General makes a determination as to whether or not he believes in his own deliberate judgment that there continues to be an emergency based upon the COVID-19 pandemic, and should he so consider, he will then sign. If His Excellency does sign, then everything else will follow. The competent authority will address the issue and will sign the documentation to restore the orders. Once His Excellency makes the order, it takes effect immediately. Once he signs, it takes effect immediately, and once he signs and it is gazetted, it takes effect immediately, and not even at 12 o'clock. It's a new proclamation. And similarly, the orders, when they're signed, after the proclamation is made, will take effect upon their signing.
Yes, I heard that, Madam President, right? But the question is always for there to be the cooperation of the public. See, this has been our line all along, that you have to bring the public along with you. That's why I use the expression the dark of night, because it's going to come into effect at midnight +1, which is the dark of night. And so how do we know what has been signed? You're saying it's the same thing.
It comes into effect when signed before the dark of night. Okay, it comes into effect, but it will be signed and gazetted if it is signed by the Governor General. Remember, it's his own deliberate discretion.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
If it is signed by the Governor General, it will come into effect. As I understand it, it's written to come into effect immediately the first proclamation ends. So it's a seamless transition from the expired proclamation and the new proclamation. And everything else will follow. As of 12:01 tonight.
I hear you, but
Okay.
we
Unfortunately, these things
this
end.
Attorney General, ma'am, has given advice to us before, and the advice has been a failure. So that's why I'm saying.
Senate.
That is why I'm saying. Well,
What advice would I give you?
This right now.
What advice would I give
just
you
a
that's a
minute.
bit
Just right
failure?
now.
You.
Right now.
Senator Mitchell.
This right now. Not
I think the Attorney General has been clear that once in his judgment, the Governor General has decided that the new proclamation will be signed. It comes into effect immediately and takes place the minute the current proclamation expires at midnight. I think that we have sufficient methods of informing the public, because even had it been done, say, yesterday, the entire public may not have been aware. I think with extra things been put in place, the majority of the public will be aware that the standing orders for what we are doing in this COVID-19 setting continue. Now, I see no reason why we should continue to debate whether it's 10% of the public who's going to know versus 30% of the public. I think we have enough of a system in our country where the majority of the public will be aware of what is expected.
Yes, there is much, Madam President, that can slip between the cup and the lip. Much that can slip between the cup and the lip. And so we have an obligation to make these points today.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Please continue, Madam President. We need to can we go back to total? Yes.
Which one do you want to do? With this laying of documents? Okay. Senator Folks?
Yes, Madam President. I beg your leave to table on the following orders. Emergency Powers COVID-19 number 5, Order 2020. The road traffic issue of identification plates, fees number 2, Order 2020. And Madam President, the following regulations. Bahamas Electricity Corporation Amendment, Regulations 2020. And the following notice. Bahamas Register Stock Amendment Act 2020, appointed day notice 2020. And the following reports. The Royal Bahamas Police Force Commissioners Policing Plan 2020. The Financial Intelligence Unit Financial Statement for the period July 1st, 2018 to December 31st, 2018. And Independent Auditor's Report. I think those are, I think that's everything. Yeah.
May the documents be brought up? May the documents do lie on the table. Just pass them to me, please.
Say something.
The documents be brought up. May the documents do lie on the table. Now you okay, you've done your communication. Communication by senators. The chair recognizes Senator Dodson.
Good afternoon, fellow senators. I just want to say to the Bahamian public to make sure to tune in to UB's graduation, which is today at 4 p.m. And to say again, congratulations to the class of 2020, of which I'm a part. if I ever get home to be in virtual graduation. And I wish to make special mention of my grandson, who's always wanted to come to the Senate, Justice Clark. He's here visiting with us today. Welcome, Justice.
Thank you, Senator. Questions, answers to questions, presentations of petitions, appointment of select committees, report of committees, first reading of bills, second reading and committal of bills, committee of the whole Senate, third reading and passing of bills, consideration of House amendments, resolutions, discharge of select committees, notices for future meetings. Chair recognizes Senator.
Thank you, Madam. Madam President, I beg leave to renew all items on the agenda in the name of the government.
Senator Mitchell,
I'd like to renew all items in the name of the opposition.
thank
I
you.
just give notice that we will be adjourning sine die without setting a date, which will give the House of Assembly the flexibility
Leeway.
to set its calendar within the 14-day period as to when they would come and debate an extension of the order if it is issued.
Orders for clerks, adjournment.
Madam President, I beg leave to move that the Senate, on its rising, be adjourned sine die. If I may accept a seconder.
Thank you, Senator Dodson. It has been moved and seconded that the Senate adjourns sine die. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes. The ayes. The ayes.
Following the
have
footsteps
it.
of Tommy Jagress, he used to say nay all the time. The sine die. Madam
ayes.
President, I beg leave now to move that the Senate be now adjourned.
The Senate is adjourned.